Come one, come all to the After Dark Podcast. The podcast in which Sheriff Anthony does his best to wrangle Konrad through Westworld, one doggone episode at a time. So kick back and grab yourself some Apple Jack, or some Adam's Ale if that's your preferred poison, and get ready for these two wannabe cowboys to ramble the night away. Music was provided by the fantastic Nancy Wyatt and Jared Iscariot. Enjoy the show! Hello, and welcome to the After Dark Podcast. I'm Anthony James, and that's Konrad.
Hello!
How are you, Konrad?
I'm good. I'm now in a position of looking back at the last three seasons of Westworld with my rose-tinted glasses on, and I'm thinking thinking about the journey we've taken together.
Yes, we've taken a long journey. Well, to be honest with you, there's still a journey to come, because at the end of this episode was very much pointing towards the future.
Yes.
But that's a bit ahead of ourselves.
A very dusty future that someone might be waking up in at the end of this episode.
That's true. Right, Konrad, tell me, what did you think of this season finale overall?
It was the pacing was good. It moved very quickly through what it wanted to get through, which I appreciated. It didn't spend that much time dwelling on things. I don't think I really bought. So talking broadly about things, I don't think I really bought the Charlotte turn, the Charlotte Dolores turn. That kind of felt a bit. I understand. I'm not going to say it felt unearned, because I can understand why they wrote her character to believe that Dolores is the one who caused her to lose her family, and that was the cause for her turn. But it felt undercooked a little bit. That it was sort of like she got blown up in the last episode, or the episode before last, and then lost her family, who I didn't really believe she was that close to anyway, because she had like one episode where she beat up a paedophile for hitting on her. Hitting on is not the right word, not the right phrase. They don't hit on. They attempt to groom.
I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be associated with that language.
Sorry, I've got myself cancelled already, a mere 10 minutes into the podcast. But she killed a paedophile, and because he was attempting to groom her son, and that's like the only interaction we saw between her and her son, and it was a bit like, I'm not sure this is like the closest relationship that I've ever seen, to be honest. And then her son is dead, and she's out for revenge as a result of it. So that felt a little bit underbaked. I agree. The kind of like revolution stuff was fine in getting Caleb from point A to point B. Dolores versus Maeve round 2 was pretty cool as an action sequence. And I like the ending. I did like the ending. I thought it had a kind of Fight Club quality to it. Yeah. The ending of this, which I enjoyed, even though Fight Club is maybe a novel and a film that has not aged super well in the last 20 odd years. I'm still
Anarchy.
not. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I'm still not that convinced on Maeve's villainous motives either. Talking about Charlotte as like someone who's turned. Although Charlotte hasn't necessarily turned to villainy, she's just turned to selfish motivations to get revenge. But Maeve, I honestly couldn't remember why she was doing what she was doing for most of this episode until she reminded me that she was like doing it for her daughter, and then I was like, yeah, surely you can see the way the wind is blowing here. Like Serac is on his last legs. Maybe change sides, Maeve. Like, maybe you have no loyalty to this man.
Well, she did, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, Konrad, we've sort of had a whistle-stop tour through most of the things in the episode there.
That's the end of the podcast.
I do agree with you that some of the stuff was half-baked, but I want to say to the listeners, just before we sort of really get into it now, until the end here, that we're going to be taking a little break from the After Dark podcast until something comes up we want to cover, or until 1899 comes up. Yeah. We are going to be going back, when 1899 comes up, we've got a lot of sort of things planned for it. We are going to go back to the more sort of long-form, step-by-step podcasts for it, or it's sort of more deep analysis. Whether that's more time spent on it, we're not sure, but definitely more deep analysis things. We've also got a couple of really good ideas about it as well. We're not sure Konrad's going to be watching it for the first time as we go through, but you're still going to hear his reactions. Don't worry, we've got some plans for that. And there we go. So if you have any ideas of anything you'd like us to cover on the channel, I've said before, it might not be in the After Dark podcast format, but even if a film or a TV show you would like us to check out, one of us could do that and then make sort of a video on that. We want to also start upping the amount of edited videos we get out. Don't hold us to that, but we do. So guys, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming for the Culture Cave. Just stick around, and we'll still be here. All right, guys, let's get back into it then. Konrad, Serac is guided. It's a classic. It's the classic puppet with no strings, right? So he's guided by a little chip on the top of his ear, which is literally telling him everything to say. Did you see that coming?
No, not really. It was. I don't really understand. Like, so, okay, it was essentially Rehoboam that was speaking to him, guiding him as it guides everyone else, and inside Rehoboam...
Serac is literally just the voice of Rehoboam, a body for him to speak through.
Yeah, so I suppose it's kind of the natural reveal of the idea of, like, Rehoboam being this AI that's in control of literally all of humanity and all of their paths, and Serac to be revealed as just another puppet who is also being guided by this thing does make sense.
Makes me actually have a bit of respect for Serac, because the thing is, in a weird way, the thing is, like, you hear about over the history of, like, particular political systems or particular sort of systems where the leaders instill a certain way that their followers should be, but they themselves don't live that way. For good or bad, I thought to myself, well, at least Serac is actually committed to this cause.
There was a point where it's sort of Serac is kind of like, I can't remember the character's name now, but the human chef in Ratatouille. There's like
Remy.
Remy's
the rat.
No, Remy's the rat. Yeah. I can't remember the human's name. Well, whatever.
Linguini.
Is irrelevant. Yeah.
Linguini. His name is Linguini.
Yeah.
Linguini.
Isn't he supposed to be French? Doesn't make sense. We'll not dwell on it. but Engelbert Humperdinck is essentially the Linguini of this, in that, I can imagine 20 years ago when Rehoboam was still in its kind of nascent stages, he was like trying to get it done himself and being like, no, I can do this. I don't need your help. And then suddenly Remy, the Rehoboam Remy was there, like, behind him, just going like, why don't you give this a go, Serac? And suddenly it was like, of course, it just needed more salt, or whatever, or the equivalent of that is for controlling society. And then the ear clip went on, and it never came off. And I
love that idea. I just absolutely, I think that is fantastic. Remy in the hat. But also, like, I thought of a joke as well, which I told Konrad. Konrad, he thought it was funny, but he hasn't seen it yet. But when you see this podcast, Konrad will have seen the film Tick, Tick, Boom, because we're going to be talking about it on the Best Movie Podcast Ever. But for anyone who has seen Tick, Tick, Boom, I did think, this is the life Rehoboam. So that's what Serac is singing in his head the whole time, and then it's like, oh, you want me to say, this is the life. So that's what he's singing the whole time. I was weirded out by the actual physicality. No, not the physicality of it. Just the reality of that. Thinking about, I picture myself like, could I live that life where I'm literally just saying the thing that something wants me to say?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. Although the reveal kind of did take some of the menace out of Serac for me, because then they went back later in the episode to him just speaking himself, but we all know that he's just saying what's in his ear, so therefore it sort of took a bit of the menace out of him. How did you feel about that?
I do agree. I think it's this show has kind of spent the last season setting him up as like the singular bad guy to take down, so to kind of cut the legs out from under him in that way is definitely an interesting choice, but it does kind of hamper that sort of drive towards him getting his comeuppance. Although, having said that, I mean, it's still quite satisfying to see him like scrambling around once shit goes south for him, after Dolores does what she does and Maeve does what she does. It kind of it makes him it works kind of in terms of the sort of symbolism of it, because he is revealed to be, it's like the Wizard of Oz, I guess. Like, he's revealed to be just a dude behind a screen who's scrambling around and doesn't know what he's doing, just like everyone else. Which I do think works. I definitely enjoyed seeing it.
Yeah, you're right. It is funny, isn't it, that the man behind the curtain from Wizard of Oz is so drawn upon in so many things, and there are particular things from the history of storytelling and the human storytelling and filmmaking that keep getting brought back. And I sometimes think to myself, how interesting would it be to like reset, the modern era, and see what would happen.
See what we come up with.
See what we come up with if those particular things weren't made. Like, what would be the reference? Because the reference to the man behind the curtain is in, I would say, 100 different things every year. So how quick, how would it be different, and how would storytelling be different if we didn't have the same things to be referencing all the time?
Yeah, it's definitely a trope that's drawn on a lot, and in a lot in Westworld. I think, like, the idea of someone being presented as being in control of something that they absolutely are not in control of has been with us since the days of Forward, I think. Although I
think it's because, like, it's a theme that's very common, and it makes sense to be retold over and over again, and it's a very it's a theme that everyone can sort of understand and think, oh yeah, that applies to my life in this way. But it's just that it's almost as if they don't want to be accused of just stealing it from the Wizard of Oz, so they always have to mention the man behind the curtain. They always have to mention the puppet with no strings. They always have to mention it.
They lampshade their own intellectual theft, just like, this is a lot like the Wizard of Oz, isn't it, guys? Like, yes, it is. Yeah, it is like that.
It is. It is, and we all know that. And you could have just done that, but no, you had to tell us.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was going to say. Okay, what I found difficult about this season, is that I personally have, when we did the OA and when we did Dark, I personally was really looking forward to seeing the end of each season.
Yeah.
Right? So there was something at the end of each season which I was like, I cannot wait to hear Konrad's thought on this. And it was always like I was trying to avoid saying something, or I was trying to hide it, or I was like, spoiler tagging in the comments with the listeners who were commenting with me, and we were like, oh, it's gonna be great. There's been none of that with Westworld since season 1. The end of season 1, I was really looking forward to you seeing it. Once you'd seen that, I'm gonna be honest with you, Konrad. There's not really been anything in the last 2 seasons where I've thought, before we have started recording these episodes, I can't wait to hear what Konrad thought of that. Obviously, I can't wait to hear thoughts in general, but I mean, a particular moment which I thought, oh, that was so mind-blowing that I can't wait to hear what he thinks, Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I think that, like, I'm sure the listeners will have noticed that like has sort of coincided, that sort of shift a little bit in Westworld has like coincided with our move to, not to give too big of a peek behind the curtain here, but it coincided with our move to like shorter videos where we talk more generally about the key plot points, because when you compare it to those other shows, you're absolutely right. There is, like, if you'd have said to me when we started season 3, or season 2 actually for that matter, if you'd said to me like when we started season 3, though, as an example, they're like, Maeve and Dolores are going to end up on kind of the same team. Dolores is going to like essentially get plugged into Rehoboam and fix it from the inside, and Sirach's going to get his comeuppance, and Caleb is going to kind of restart society. I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's exactly how I would have imagined this is going to end. Like, there's nothing that surprising about that, and it's very that's not to say that narrative arc for those characters is bad, but it's definitely pretty well-worn territory, you'll be like, you can just say, oh yeah, these are obviously the arcs that these characters are going to go on, and everything that's good in season 3 and probably season 2 as well is very much in like the presentation and the style, which can be great. It can really be great in this show, but there's definitely less of the
spoiler tag.
Yeah,
there was nothing that I was afraid of letting you know.
Yeah, like in season 1, and I don't think that season 1 resolved all of its mysteries perfectly by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I think there were some that were a little bit confusing, but there were still things at the end of each episode where I was like, oh, I don't really know what's going on here, that's interesting. And you have like the whole the map inside of the dude's skull that the Man in Black was following, or figuring out that there were actually different timelines at play. Like, all of that stuff was all of that was stuff you could theorize about and like was quite interesting to think about. And there's not really any of that in this. There just isn't. It's a very straightforward show. It's a good straightforward show, but it is, as you say, it's pretty basic stuff.
Pretty basic stuff.
Yeah.
This is
AI bad, Frenchman bad, robots not so bad after all. Basically, it's like is what this show is about.
Yeah, and maybe, I think maybe some listeners are thinking, after Dark and the OA, like everyone sort of has rose-tinted glasses for Westworld because of that first season. So maybe, like, in retrospect now, like, I'm glad that we did that first season.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to do the first season and then just stop. So
No.
it's not my way. I cannot do that. But maybe in the future, like, obviously we'll do it 1899, but in the future, like, it will have to be a show which we are pretty certain it is very deep and very, worthy of the conversation for us to dip our toes into this sort of long form again. Like 1899, 100%, we know that we are going to be able to get the money worth out of that because it's basically what this channel's founded on.
I mean, 1899, I have deliberately not consumed any content for 1899, including the stuff that you have made for this channel. I've been like, I know there's a ship in it. I know that much. I'm going to hold my hand up and say I'm pretty sure there's a ship in it because I've seen some ships. But like, I like that's something that I'm like actively avoiding being spoiled on. And I normally don't care about spoilers, generally speaking. When people are like, don't spoil the latest Spider-Man. I'm like, who gives a shit? It's a Spider-Man movie. Like, he's going to punch a bad guy at the end of that movie. But the 1899, I'm very much like, I don't want to be spoiled on this because there's going to be some crazy stuff in that, I think. And Westworld just doesn't. It's kind of lost that mystery in the second and third seasons. Maybe the fourth will bring it back, but I think on the current trend, it's more likely to be more of this, like very slick presentation, like good action sequences and likable characters, but characters that ultimately aren't going to do anything to surprise you, which I think might put some people off.
Yeah, it's basically like Westworld. First season was Westworld, and then the next two seasons were just basically reminiscence. Okay, so let's get back into the actual details from the episode now. Then, so what? I've got a question for you, right?
Go on.
Why are we being taken back to Barnold's son? We haven't heard about that kid in over a season now. There's not been one part of Arnold or Barnold's characterization this season which is implying that he can't do something because he misses his son.
Yeah.
What's going on here, Konrad? They just wanted to have the old lady and young partner meme going on. That's all they wanted.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really torn on this scene. Well, I mean, I've actually got an entire section of my notes just titled "What in the world is going on with Barnold?" Because and Man in Black, because talking about things just coming back. We get the fucking Lawrence revenge tour as he just shows up to help the Man in Black out. It's like, oh yeah, Lawrence.
Was because at the start, wasn't there one pearl of Dolores that we didn't know where it was,
and it's just thrown away,
and that's the throwaway
fucking
reveal.
Lawrence. It's like, all right, great, okay. I mean, okay, so it is disappointing. I suppose it makes sense that if Dolores like openly spoke about making copies of herself, there's no reason she couldn't technically have made more. But it's definitely very out of left field and just kind of doesn't have any impact. But I
think there was build up, Konrad, for there being an extra pearl somewhere, but that was that was completely a throwaway reveal. Literally, they built something up from the start of the season.
It's in one scene.
It was just so that Lawrence can show up and everyone was like, hey, I remember that guy. Yeah, if you want to see Lawrence, go and bloody watch season 2 again. Like, what's going on?
I'd honestly forgotten that there was another pearl out there by the end of this. Also, I will talk about Gina Torres in a second because I want to say something on it. But have they always been called pearls? Did we just start calling them nuts for like the lols? And
no. Yeah, so I think you've misunderstood a little bit here, Konrad. The nut is the case of the pearl.
Okay. It's like a clown pearl situation.
I don't know. No, we've been calling them nuts. I don't know. The show's never called them anything. Like those cases, which at the start of season 2 they started plugging into those tablets. That's what we were calling the nuts.
Okay.
They didn't actually reveal the pearls until Bernard went down into that thing and took the pearl out of his head.
Yeah.
So we've never really cared about the word pearl because to us we're just focusing on the whole nut
Yeah,
in entirety.
and Serac called it a pearl in this episode, and it shook me to my very core. I was like, that can't be what they've been called this whole time, and I've just missed it. But
they haven't been labelled very well.
Okay, so Barnold and Gina Torres slash. Oh, I didn't write her character's name down. Lucy. It begins with an L, I think. Laura, something like that.
Who is this? Who are you talking about?
His wife. I didn't write her name down.
I'm not sure. I don't know the actress.
The bit. This is me picking straws. That's not the right. Splitting hairs. That's the expression I'm looking for.
It's the last straw that broke the camel's back this episode,
Sure,
Konrad.
it is. I mean, well, it might literally be. We'll see how season 4 goes on. The bit where he turns up at his wife's house, he's directed by Dolores, and the presumably like live-in carer says to him, "Are you family? I think I've seen your picture. I'll go get her." Without him saying anything in response, made me irrationally angry. And it is irrational, I will be the first to admit that. This isn't really a criticism of the show, but I was like, what kind of carer are you? Just letting some random person into the house because you think you've seen their picture? Honestly, you can't get the help these days. But anyway, so if you take this scene is what I like to call a set piece. Like you take it out of the show, and you just let Jeffrey Wright and Gina Torres, who's playing his wife, in fantastic aged up makeup. Like normally it looks kind of ridiculous when you age up an actor or actress. She looks pretty good in it, I think. Like she looks convincing.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
But you just put them next to each other and you let them act out their characters' emotions about the death of their son. It works on just without any context because they're such good actors and actresses, and it's kind of playing on the crux of the characters. You know, who am I? Is any of this real? How do I move on from this grief? You know, do these emotions? Well, these emotions are clearly still with Bernard, even though he is no longer Arnold, technically speaking. There's interesting stuff there, but you are absolutely right that it is just kind of, it's just thrown in. It's just thrown in. It's not really a satisfying resolution to his character because he hasn't been driven by this grief, at least to my eyes.
Not externally. Not externally. Yeah.
At any point, you know, as you say, I can't remember the last time he mentioned his son, or his wife.
Not this season at all.
Yeah.
Not this season.
So it's great acting, and I really enjoyed seeing Gina Torres. I enjoyed the reveal, even that she was actually real, which I guess means in season 1 he was speaking to a host of his wife on the phone, which.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or like a previously recorded thing.
Yeah, I guess so. But
maybe they had him acting out a conversation that the real Arnold had with her.
But I did enjoy it, but it feels very shallow. It feels very kind of like emotionally manipulative. Like, we're gonna get Jeffrey Wright to cry about his dead son in this scene, and you're gonna fucking enjoy it. And don't ask any questions about why this is happening no, actually that's not fair. I was gonna say this episode was like an hour and 17 minutes long. You didn't need that scene, but if you didn't have that scene, Barnold would have literally done nothing for like this episode. He would have just Stubbs would have been shot. He'd have taken him to a hotel room. He would have passed out and then woken up 50 years in the future, having destroyed the world or whatever it is that he's implied to have done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. That was hard for me to get over that scene. I thought it was a bit unneeded.
Yeah.
And I think like if you wanted, like, it was a good scene in isolation, as you say, but just a little bit more, just something with Arnold or Barnold, whatever you call him, something with him to allow us to see that he's still struggling with the grief of his son. Yeah. Of course he is. It's his prime directive or whatever. It's his backstory, but still, you know. I will say though, talking about Jeffrey Wright's children, I actually didn't realize until yesterday. I've seen the film a few times. I like it more than most. The Pixar film The Good Dinosaur, he's actually the voice of the dad in that.
I've never even heard of that movie.
He's based. Oh, haven't you? Oh, okay.
No.
It's basically like Pixar's version of The Lion King.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeffrey Wright's good in most things he's in. I loved him in he was one of my favourite things about the Daniel Craig Bond movies. His CIA character. It's always a treat when Jeffrey Wright shows up in something. So, you know, I'm happy for him to get more screen time. It's just a shame that they didn't really give him anything to work with in the scripts. They were kind of just like, Jeffrey, we need you to get the waterworks going in this scene. Like, so you and Gina Torres sit down and make the audience cry for 5 minutes, and then we'll get back to the samurai swords.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Watch The Good Dinosaur, by the way. It's all right. It's a dinosaur western, basically.
Okay, nice.
Basically, kind of like he plays kind of like actually, I'm not going to say that because that's a spoiler. But let's just say his father role is very similar to another father role in Disney films. Okay, so what else can we talk about? So Dolores, dead or alive?
That's so hard because
I love Evan Rachel Wood. I hope she's not dead.
I think like
she can't be dead. They're building up Charlotte versus her.
Yeah, I mean this is the problem though with this show and how it treats its hosts is that this feels like a very natural. On one hand, this feels like a very natural end point for Dolores' arc. You know, she goes from the victim in the first series to the destroyer in the second series to the reformed.
To the
reformer,
martyr.
I guess, like martyr, in the third series. Like that's a very cool arc for her to have, and I really did like the character retrospective at the beginning of this episode that kind of shows us how Dolores has developed. Although I don't like all of the developments or how they were handled, I think broadly speaking, the arc that she's gone on is a pretty good one. I don't think she's dead, because I don't think they have anything else to lean on at this point. I like it's a very kind of cynical meta analysis of it. But if you take Dolores out of this show, and Maeve is still about, but you take Dolores out of the show, it's like, what is it? Maeve and Caleb and Barnold hang out for like they're running low on compelling characters by the end of this. So I don't think Dolores will be in episode 1. I think she will be dead, or she is dead at the moment. But
they're just they'll download her from a hobo.
Yeah. I think it's gonna, like, if you're asking me how do you start season 4, it's Maeve and Caleb kind of living in the new world, Barnold off trying to find them because he's realised something has gone terribly wrong with whatever he did with the guest data, and then Charlotte becomes the villain and pursues Maeve and Caleb, and they're like, we've got to go back to the source, and they go and they go and find the original Dolores from which all other, like the Dolores that Caleb saw in that military training program or something. They go and get that Dolores and download her into, I don't know, a new body, and then we get Evan Rachel Wood back. It's
just like, actually, it's very similar to Dark. Go to get a previous build of Jonas, to help get hit.
Exactly. Yeah. But they'll fast track her through all of the experiences she's had, so she's exactly the same character she was when she
just
died.
A little walk from the cave, like a little 5-minute walk, fill her in and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. She's very understanding of all the crazy time travel stuff that's explained to her, to be honest. I had a question for you about Dolores. This is kind of just an aside, but I thought it was interesting. Is the metal body that she gets after the EMP fucks up her other body, is the implication that was her original body that she was?
It was. We saw her. We saw Arnold working on her way back in the day in first season, I think.
Okay, that's quite cool. I enjoyed that.
Built to last.
Yeah. It's a nice kind of, it gives us that nice moment when Maeve and Dolores are fighting, and she goes to like cut her with the katana, and she puts her arm up, and it essentially like blocks the sword because she's made of metal. And she says like, I was built to last, not like the weak things they turned us into, or something along those lines.
Oh, when they were not like the things they turned, the weak they turned us into when we were trying to emulate them.
Yeah,
humans. Okay, so I just want to say this little anecdote. I almost got found out to be a host the other day. Actually, I took my car's broken at the minute, so I took a walk to the shop with my son, and he was walking around the aisles. You know how children do, 3-year-old. He walked up to the end of the aisle, and I said, "Get back here!" So he walked back to me, going, "Excuse me," and then he saw an old woman filling her basket with fruit.
Uh-oh.
And he said, I don't think loud enough to be heard, but it was still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. He said, he goes, "We have to be quiet. The humans are shopping."
That's great. Outed. I mean, he shouldn't know that he's a robot at that young age. I think you've messed up by not allowing him to develop thinking he's human for at least until the teenage years. That's when you can let him know. That's fantastic. Well done to him.
Yeah, it was so good. But yeah, okay. So what else are we missing in this episode? We've done the Lawrence, the most important part. We've done the so the ending is basically on a bridge where sort of this, it's a bit, as you say, Fight Clubby.
Yeah,
the
they
world
play
burn
Dark
and-
Side. They play like Pink Floyd instead of the Pixies.
Yeah,
as like the
yeah.
world burns and. Okay, I understand like the revolution happening obviously because they fucked up like the Rehoboam network, so everyone's like predicted future is in their hands.
Yeah,
And
what if they just deleted the system guiding them and didn't tell them what the system knew? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Would that have been a better option here? I don't know.
Yes, it 100% would have been because we saw in this a bunch of people kill themselves because they can't deal with the reality of like, oh, I'm going to die of cancer in 2 years, or you know, or my daughter's going to die of some disease or whatever. Like, it would have 100% been better to just be like, let's maybe not.
Let's just turn the switch off.
Yeah, yeah. Let's let people live happily in ignorance if there's something bad coming for them.
It's like what happened to Facebook this week. You know, the stock just went down like massively.
Was that with the metaverse thing that they've launched, where a new way for nightmare people on the internet to abuse women, which is very exciting. I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. Yeah, I did like the Fight Club ending. I thought the the choice of song was cool. I like the montage. It felt like a really satisfying conclusion. It honestly felt like the end of the show to me. I could have seen the show just ending there, and then they sort of tag on a couple of things. So obviously you get Barnold waking up at the end, and presumably I don't know. I think there's going to be a time skip. That's my assumption. Is there's going to be a time skip because I mean he was waking up clearly like in the future. He's covered in dust.
So does that mean they're going to recast Caleb? Or they'll do a split timeline thing again potentially.
They could. I think
will they recast
him.
Caleb as an older man?
Yeah, I think they'll recast him because Aaron Paul's
Anthony Hopkins comes back.
Oh, imagine Anthony Hopkins trying to play Aaron Paul. That would be quite a performance from Sir Hopkins.
Sir Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean you can keep Maeve the same. That's the benefit of hosts is you never have to explain any aging.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he's like the only real human, you know.
Yeah. So they'll just poochie him and say, "Oh, Caleb died between seasons" or something. He's
going to be the leader of the world or something. Won't he?
Yeah. They'll have a cutaway to like an old man, and it'll say like as president of the New Earth Foundation or something on the television screen, and it'll say Caleb, whatever his surname is, and that'll be when the only mention we get of Caleb. So I did like the ending. I've said previously I don't really get Maeve's motivation, her whole daughter thing, and like the kind of protecting the hosts in the land beyond. She feels very arch, but I'm interested to see where she's going at the end. And the post-credit sequence is pretty interesting as well. We had a joke about this before we started, like with Man in Black, who does nothing in this episode. He sits down and drinks expensive whiskey while the world around him burns.
Well, he starts trying to punch Bernard. Bernard clicks a little button.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I never saw Bernard unclick that button.
No,
you know. So the whole time when he goes to talk to his former partner or whatever, he's in rage mode.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's why he had to go there. Because she's the only one who can calm him down from his enraged mode.
Sun's coming up, big guy.
Yeah. But yes, so do we just want to talk about the post-credit sequence? I guess that's all there is to cover now, really.
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay, so I've joked many times before, and indeed, Anthony and I have joked this very day, recording this, about how ridiculous the injuries that Man in Black has suffered throughout this series and survived. So I'm not prepared to put my name on the idea that the human Man in Black, is dead, despite us seeing him have his throat slit and bleeding out, because he's had worse. He's had worse than that and survived it.
I love
that. In fact, I would go so far as to say Charlotte and host Man in Black are gonna fuck off and create like an army of Charlotte duplicates or whatever for their nefarious ends. And who's it going to be? It can't be Arnold. It can't be Bernard because he's all like zonked.
Who's going to be what?
Years.
Who's going to be what?
So I think someone is like that scene is going to be continued with someone turning up with the little red laser thing and fix him seconds after they leave that room. I'm trying to think who it could be.
So there's two of them now.
There's not a lot of people.
It's got to be Lee. It's got to be Lee Sizemore.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, a host Lee Sizemore has just to really complete the fucking robot Ouroboros. Just every human that was in this show at any point, or in fact, actually, it could be
his daughter.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it could be a host, his daughter,
or Logan, or
I was thinking of what are those two idiot human like chop shop.
Oh,
guys
Felix
called?
and Sylvester.
Yeah, bring back the dream team, Felix and Sylvester. I think it would be his daughter. Actually, that would be interesting if there was like a host version of his daughter helping human Man in Black hunt down the host version of himself.
I mean, that is a very Westworld thing to do.
The show has just disappeared into its own nonsense, and I kind of love it. But yeah,
I just don't know why. Like, as you say, a 94-year-old Ed Harris is able to fight hosts. No. Why is he able to hold his own whatsoever?
Yeah,
I just don't.
I mean, but he only holds his own when it's plot relevant for him to do so. There's a moment in this where he's like, I'm gonna save the world, and then his own host, which is really funny in and of itself, like his sense of like narcissism and self-centeredness, like convincing him that he's some kind of hero in this story is very funny, because he's obviously not. And then his own version of the host turning up and just beating the shit out of him is like, that's great. That's good clean fun right there. But as you say, like, he's able to fight other hosts without a problem. So I don't know, like, I still maintain that the original Man in Black that we've seen for this entire show must be a host with the amount of damage that he's sustained. Like, he's been shot so many times in this show, but who knows?
Oh god, yeah, no. Well, it's funny, like all these time you've been saying, he's a host. Your prediction was he's a host. I always knew that eventually he's going to get replaced by a host. So I was like, it's funny that I can see exactly what Konrad's talking about, but it's weird that he's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just the most durable man that's ever lived. He's like Captain America. He's just like invincible, essentially.
Also, was it revealed whenever Bernard puts his little hat on, his little sunglasses, and he sees someone in front of him, but we don't really know who do you think he sees?
I don't remember that bit. Who is that after he wakes up from his long nap?
No. When he first puts it on, he's like looking, and there's like a light in front of him, and he's like, "Whoa!"
Oh, like, no, I do remember. Yeah, I make a note on that.
I don't know if it actually revealed what he saw. I don't think.
No, I don't think it does. I can't really. Honestly, I can't really. I remember the scene you're talking about now, and I remember making a mental note of it, but I can't really remember the context in which it happened. So I can't say who I think or what I think he's looking. I know what. No, I do know what I think he's looking at. I think it was like him kind of seeing. I think I read it as him like looking at the divine or something. So seeing like, I don't know, it's going to be like the inner workings of some crazy AI, or seeing the valley beyond, like represented as data streams or something like that. Like it definitely had that sense of like, like Barnold is touching the face of God here or something. But to specifically what it is, I'm not sure. It'll be something that will come back in season 4, presumably.
Yeah, just like Anthony Hopkins. Hello.
That is. Season 2 had the problem of too many characters, not enough development for any of them, too many plot lines. They all felt weak. Season 3 hasn't had this problem because I've enjoyed the plot lines. But where it leaves us for season 4, my prediction is in season 4 that it's going to have the exact opposite problem of season 2, where they're like, we've got no fucking characters left because we've killed them all. So I don't know who's going to be the star of this show. As you say, they'll probably have a sizable Lee Sizemore host storyline.
Please. That's what I'm hoping.
Bring him
I think it is weird to think about that, isn't it? Like, so no more Teddy. No more Prime Dolores. No more Man in Black human. Ivy is dead. No more Lee Sizemore.
Yeah.
No more Hector.
Like, we've missed Ford. We like Ford as Ford.
No Ford. Yeah. Lawrence
Hector's
is back. But Lawrence isn't even back. It's just another version of Dolores. So in terms of characters still around from the first season, Maeve.
It's Maeve.
Is Maeve the only one?
It's Maeve. Yeah.
Really interesting.
That's all we've got. Oh, I mean, no, it's Maeve, and anytime they want an assassin, Clementine shows up for a little bit.
Yeah. You need an assassin. Clementine's your girl. That's why just pop that bulk apperception up a bit, and then she's all right.
They have gotten so far away from that stuff as well. Like, we're just gonna nudge these little sliders up a scooch, and it's gonna turn you into a psychic genius that can control things with your mind. And in this, it's like, I don't know, they're just fucking. She's got a samurai sword. Dolores has got a gun. Stop worrying about that stuff, you nerd. Like, let's just have some fun. Like, it's
why did she have a samurai sword? Like, what's going on? Also, okay, Charlotte, like, why the hell are you keeping that burnt arm? I understand you want to remember, right? Have a little patch on your hand that the makeup department doesn't have to do every time you're on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, there's no CGI needed. Why are they adding in something that's going to cost them a lot of money when, let's be honest, no one cares. No one cares that Charlotte has a burnt arm. Okay, might look cool once. Just do away with it now.
I wanted them to go like full Emperor Palpatine Charlotte, just like have her like in a fucking black Sith robe, being like, yes, like
that would have been good.
Horrifically burned features underneath it. Like, that's, if you have the opportunity, you've got a character who you can burn to an absolute crisp and can conceivably survive because she's a robot. Why would you not do that? Have her be like a nightmare person. That's what I want.
I just want to hear Leah say, I torched her. But what do you call it? One more thing, actually, we didn't talk about last episode, is that we did actually get through Caleb's flashbacks. We sort of mentioned a little bit there with Man in Black, actually, but we didn't really talk about it. Confirmation that the little magical wands do work on humans.
Yes, yeah, they do.
And they do use them in the army.
Yeah, so who knows? I don't know what those things do.
But also, there's no medical professionals, so like it's all done. It's all done just with
robots.
Yeah, I suppose those EMTs who are just like basically like customer service people now probably just use the wand,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the implication is like those the ambulances that are like self-service ambulances. They just kind of pump you full of painkillers and then run the wand over you a couple of times and you're good to go. So I don't know, nano machines like it's going to be something.
Paint over the rust. That'll be fine.
That whole,
all right, guys.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, like, because you've mentioned it, that whole like Caleb flashback thing where like it shows the seed of Dolores' empathy for humans that she has never once mentioned in 3 episodes and 3 seasons of television is not to mention like acted on in season 2 when she was like, no, let's just kill all humans, is ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I do understand. I do understand why Dolores thought that Caleb was a great guy because of that interaction. Because he didn't want to rape them, right?
Yeah.
I understand that, but I will say, the bar for the person who's going to lead the world into peace should be a little higher than they're not a sexual abuser.
I mean, you could apply this to real life, to be honest. It's I absolutely agree. The bar should be higher than that, but unfortunately, that's where we are as a society.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very much. We'll see what happens with Westworld. Maybe we'll do something with it in the future if season 4 comes out. I don't know if we'll commit to doing the whole season 4. We've done the first three seasons now. We'll let you know our thoughts on it whenever we get around to it or whatever. But thanks very much for watching, and we'll be still here every single week with our best movie podcast ever until 1899 comes out. As well as that, you can catch us on our videos where we sort of do a bit more sort of bad guy breakdowns with Konrad, TV show reviews, as well as theory videos for me. And we'll catch you there. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.